hello Bio 2. We're starting on with section 2 of chapter 26. We're actually taking a look at our first group of animals, and these are known as the sponges. So we'll just jump right into it, but the first thing we're going to ask ourselves is, what exactly is a sponge? So sponges are in the phylum that is known as Porifera, so kingdom Animalia, phylum Porifera, and this simply means pore bearers. So that should be pretty simple. You're going to need to know what Porifera means. It means that they have pores, they are pore bearers. And sponges will live their entire adult life attached to a single spot. So again, not all animals have to move, but we're going to have to look at why in fact are sponges classified as animals, because when we look at them, just that picture right there, it doesn't exactly scream animal, more looks like a plant probably, but it is in fact classified as an animal. So why are they classified as animals? There's four big reasons here. They're multicellular, they're heterotrophic, they have no cell walls, and they do contain some specialized cells. So these things are all characteristics of animals, so that's why in fact they are grouped as animals. And so since they're grouped as animals, they have to carry out some essential functions that we mentioned at the beginning of this chapter, so we're going to take a look at how in fact they do that. So first one being is their form and function. Sponges do not have a mouth or a gut, so they have no tissues or organ systems. So that's not a good start to maybe kind of classify them as an animal. So kind of they're more basic, they're more primitive, they don't have a lot of the things that we think of as an animal. However, they are multicellular, they are heterotrophic, so we're going to take a look at how they are able to obtain their food if they don't have a mouth or a gut. So first is their body plan, and this is going to kind of go along with how they get their food. So sponges are asymmetrical, meaning they have no symmetry, they have no defined shape, and they have no front or back ends, they have no left or right sides. So they're basically completely random on how they grow. And then the body of the sponge forms a wall around a large central cavity, so they do have a body cavity through which water is circulated continually. So water is constantly going through this large body cavity, this central cavity, at all times. So water is always going through. So water will enter through pores located in the body wall, and it leaves through what is known as the osculum, which is a large hole at the top of the sponge. So remember we said porifera means pore bearers, so water is constantly going in through the pores and then coming out the top. It never goes in the top. It always comes in through the sides, out the top, as you can see with those arrows right there. And then just kind of zooming in farther almost on how this all occurs. Choanocytes are going to be specialized cells that use flagella to move the steady current of water through the sponge. So it's not like water just happens to come through there. The sponge has specialized cells that actually forcibly move the water through all the time. And these cells are known as choanocytes. So I would know that word right there, choanocytes, and that these are going to be the cells that pump water into the pores of the sponge. And this movement of water through the sponge provides a simple mechanism for feeding, so it'll bring in food, respiration, it'll kind of help bring in oxygen, remove CO2, circulation, again just kind of getting out their waste material, or to pass along nutrients, and then excretion will be to get rid of their waste material. So these choanocytes play a big role in how the sponge can carry out its essential functions to be considered an animal. And then kind of some more form and function in sponges. They have a simple skeleton, and in harder sponges the skeleton is made up of what are known as spicules, and a spicule is a spike-shaped structure made of calcium carbonate or silica. So a spicule is kind of just a structure of a sponge skeleton is all you would need to know about that, is that it's going to help make up the skeleton of the sponge. And then kind of getting in even further on the skeleton of the sponge, they're made by the spicules are made up of archaeocytes, which are specialized cells that move around within the walls of the sponge. So archaeocytes make up a spicule, spicule helps make up the skeleton-like structure of a sponge. And then we're going to take a look, again we said that this movement of water through the sponge kind of helps them feed, it helps them respirate with the respiration, circulation, and also excretion. So we're going to take a look at feeding to start. So sponges are in fact filter feeders. So as water moves through the sponge, food particles are trapped and engulfed by choanocytes that line the body cavity. So remember we mentioned choanocytes are the specialized cells that pump water through. They're also going to be used to trap food as well. And then these particles are then digested or passed on to the archaeocytes, who complete the digestive process and transport digested food throughout the sponge. So again, these archaeocytes have another function as well. They help make up our skeleton, and they also help to pass food throughout the rest of the sponge. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions.